We are rolling. Hello, Michael.
Good morning, New York, Vinnie. As good a morning as it can be, as America is on this continual loop that we cannot break, where the bad dream just keeps happening at a regular basis with no notice, coming around again. It's always the same. It's always the different. It's always the parents in front of the school. It's always the little children being murdered for their innocence. And it's always the rubbing of the hands together as if there was nothing we could do about it.
Right. If you haven't heard this one, by the way, good morning. We're Michael Knight, New York. Vinnie, Mikey, and Vinnie Take on the World is the name of our show. He's Michael Knight, and he's in beautiful Pasadena, California. I'm New York Vinnie, and I am up here in chilly but clear Seattle, which is a beautiful thing, and probably the last beautiful thing we're going to get to in the next 58 minutes of our show here. It's if you don't know, if you haven't seen yet, we've had another school shooting in America, Nashville, this morning.
I don't know how you could get to the internet to watch us without seeing it, but it's possible that you don't know about the shooting. 5 dead, 2 adults, 3 children.
No, I'm seeing three children, at least three children killed. Maybe there's an update on that I haven't seen.
2 adults.
Two adults, and the shooter is dead. And it's, I mean, here we are, Michael. We don't even get through a day of the week. It's Monday morning at what is it, 11 o'clock there, 10 o'clock, and once again, somebody uses a gun, one of the most readily available things in this country, whether it's legally or illegally, to go into a place where little innocent children,
A private Christian school.
little innocent children are, probably doing crayon stuff, drawing stuff. A couple of them probably peeing in their pants. You know what happens in preschool. A couple of them sitting over in the corner crying because they missed their parents and it's Monday morning and they had this great weekend. And three of those kids and two people that we don't know if they're teachers or what yet.
We don't know the ages of the victims either, do we?
Right. We don't know the ages of the victims as far as I could see. But again, we have this situation again in America, and I, you know, Michael, I struggle to find the words sometimes. This is not normal. People say, "Oh well, it's another one." How in the world can you
It's the
look at this
seventh,
and say it's normal?
17th school shooting this year. It's what is particularly American and abnormal about this is that over and over again, people take their grievances and their problems and their hate and their maladjustment to a school, probably a school that they had some relationship with. And even adults go back to the school seeing it as some sort of a training ground for being a better human, where you learn, where you know where you learn what's right and what's wrong. You also learn sometimes that stay away from that kid on the playground. The guy's a mess. He plays rough. He plays too rough. Don't watch out for that guy. You learn about people. You learn what everyone says is the most important thing of being in a time for tool school or a ready for threes or a kindergarten class is socialization. You learn how to be with your other people. You learn how to be with other folks. You learn how to make friends and how to play and how to share. And if you don't learn those things, if that comes really hard to you, school will be a nightmare for you because you have no choice. It's a giant melting pot.
Right.
Schools are nightmares and schools are fun. But for some
And
reason, schools, why, Vinny, are they the scene of this hate and carnage? Why always over and over again? It's something like a shopping mall, something mundane like a clothing store or a food store, or something so precious, and that is the school, where my grandchildren are there right now,
yeah,
just waiting for the gunman to come through the door
yeah.
on a
I
Monday
mean, I think
morning.
if you're a teacher, if you're a school administrator, if you're somebody. I mean, when we were kids, and I saw somebody say this before, when we were kids, we used to have the A-bomb drills, the duck and
Under your
cover
desk?
stuff
Yeah.
under your desk. Can you get home? You used to have to bring the paper home to your mom. Will you be able to? Can he get home in 15 minutes? I guess they want you to go home and die. They didn't want you to die in the school. Can he walk home within 10 minutes? Or and then you were tagged. If a nuclear attack happens, you stay here, you run home. You stay here, you run home. You stay here, you run home.
Of course, what they didn't tell you is halfway home, your home's not there.
Well, yeah. I mean, why not? Just send a kid. Just get. Let's like I said, we don't want you to die in the school if we can
If you
help.
if you, if you saw pictures of the town in Mississippi that got wiped off the map, that's the way Queens would look. As Vinnie was about halfway home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I never fully understood that reasoning of
We had even a weirder thing that could never be done. It was stranger than dying under your desk in the third grade. It was the evacuation route. And the evacuation route took you down Sir Francis Drake Boulevard to Highway 101 and pointed you north. And that was it. That was it. Where we go? Well, when you see Vinny, you're going to be in Seattle. So pull over, buy
yeah,
him a club sandwich, and have him tell you about what's going on in town that day.
or maybe even more importantly, just keep on going right up to the border and get into Canada while you can.
Because there wouldn't be much left of Canada. That's the thing. There's nothing left of anything in the kind of war that we're talking about, and there's not going to be much left of our soul if we harden it to the point where we can take a school shooting once a month. I can do once a month, and then what? And then I'm going to say the things that I always say afterwards, and then we're going to just wait for the next one. Also, I would like to say that if we could stop them, I just don't see how. You mean a law? You mean some sort of control on guns? Oh, I can't see that. No, that's not our way. Our way is death in the schools. Your way is just a ungracious, terrible, grabby law that takes my gun and takes my future, it takes my fear, it takes all the things that I worry about in the United States and wraps them into one and puts bullets in it so that I can get even with my neighborhood. No, I don't see any change to that. I don't see that coming around. I don't see anybody making. I bet you Rand Paul from Tennessee, who represents that area, has already said something inappropriate.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's probably saying, well, we have to protect the right of all Americans to have guns, or we have to do this, or we have to do that. I'll tell you what, uh, you know, you just get to a point where you look at Congress and you say you're calling the attorney general, the district attorney of Brooklyn down. You're
Yeah,
calling this person down. You're calling that person down. You're having this hearing. You're trying to go after Hunter Biden. Hunter fucking Biden is not the problem with this country. The district attorney in New York City is not the problem with this country. The problem that you people have to fix right now and figure it out quick is what to do about gun violence in this country. That's the problem you have to figure out. In 1955, Michael, and in years before that, I don't know if you remember this. No, I don't remember it, but I've read up enough about it because it was happening. Um, it happened in my lifetime, in my not in my neighborhood. We closed playgrounds in this country because there was a killer going all over the playgrounds, taking the lives of kids. Little kids were having to walk with who survived. Were having to live in an iron lung. We're having to walk with braces.
I remember being afraid of it.
And this killer, we motivated this entire nation, every medical personnel, anybody who had an idea of what to do about it,
There
was
was a
was put in an army of civilians and government workers to figure out how to stop this killer from stalking and attacking and killing children on playgrounds.
there was a
We
cat
look
down in
at
San
this,
Diego that did it. Yeah,
yeah, we look at this And we say we can't have our children fearing to go out to play. We can't have our children fearing this killer that's going playground to playground.
If you remember, Vinny, we couldn't go to the theater. That was a problem.
You can
To,
go
to watch
anywhere. It was.
Saturday morning horror movies. Nope.
You think about the what we just went through with COVID. That was nothing compared to what this was, because it was killing our children. And Congress and the president, President Eisenhower, and the Congress, and the Department of Public Health, which ran hospitals at the time, motivated all of these people to try to do what they could to save children's lives. And that killer, as we all know, was polio. It was
And
a disease.
our hero was a doctor named Jonas Salk, who
So
not only developed the vaccine, but took no money for it. The genius of the world. For all the confusion that we have living in America about what's good, what's right, and how certain things can just fester and go on forever, every once in a while there's a bright light like Jonas Salk who gives you a particularly American ending to that terrible story you just told. He developed the vaccine. It worked. Everybody in the world got it. There weren't any anti-vaxxers. There weren't any idiots standing in the street demanding that he be incarcerated for saving the world from a terrible disease. And he took no patent control of that medicine and took no money for it, which is the best American ending to that strange American story. And if we're given that one, it's a good example, Vinny, that you came up with, because if we were given that ending for this story that we're telling right now, this nightmare we're going through, then we have to believe that in a certain American way, it will end for the better, not for the people that are already dead, not for the families that have already been destroyed and will never be reunited with their previous feelings. That life is gone. You don't recover from something like this. Parents do not just snap back. That's not the way the world works. So we're going to look for a typical rescue American ending to this, Vinny, and I don't see anybody short of a president who can do it.
I just think at some point in time, the right of our children to go to school safely, the right of people to go to the supermarket safely, the right of people to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is greatly injured. I mean, by guns, by guns. And I know there are people who are going to say, "Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, I have a gun and I keep it." Listen, I've considered buying a gun, and but again, it's the story I related last week. You know, I don't know if I'm a good person to have a gun because it's entirely possible that if that guy came to my door last week and opened it up like that I would have pulled the gun out and shot him.
Yes,
And
Vinny's talking about an incident that happened to him he was sitting in his car and a guy opened the door thinking it was his car.
yeah,
But it was a very sudden and unexpected event that shows you how vulnerable you can be if he had intended you harm.
right. On my side, it wasn't somebody looking for their car. On my side, it was somebody trying to carjack me.
Yeah,
And
that's
so on
frightening.
my side, it wasn't anything about somebody who made a mistake. And how many people in this country die? That guy's alive
Because you didn't have a
because I had
gun.
a flashlight instead of a gun. Now I could have hit him over the head with it, but they would have taken him to the hospital, and I would have gone to and they probably would have arrested me or something. And then when we sorted it out, we figured, well, what are you going to do? And he would have spent probably a few days in the hospital, had a bandage on his head, and check the license plate of every car he ever opened for the rest of his life. But he would have had that life.
Yeah.
He would have had that ability to come back. If I'd have put a bullet in him,
And you too would have had your life that would have changed dramatically had you shot him.
yeah. And of course, the media would have made me to be a hero. A man shoots carjacker until they found out that it wasn't a carjacker. Then it's idiot mistakenly shoots,
Another idiot.
63-year-old man or something like that. So, but that's off this story. I mean, but
Well, no, because whatever happened today wouldn't have been this tragic without the one element that makes it this tragic, and that's the gun. The person, and I don't know who, male, female, adult, or student, who went to the school today, killed 5 people, and died himself. I'm assuming it's a male.
oh, actually, CNN is reporting that it was a female armed with multiple guns. The shooter who opened fire, I'm going to read this now from CNN 2 minutes ago, up on the wire. The shooter who opened fire at the Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee, was a female, according to police. Police said she appeared to be in her teens, but is yet to be identified. Don Aaron of the Metro Nashville Police Department said on a Monday morning news conference that officers arriving to the scene encountered a female who was firing. 2 responding officers opened fire on the shooter, and she was fatally shot. The shooter appears to be in her teens, although identification has not been confirmed. She was armed with at least 2 assault type rifles and a handgun.
Now, where would a teenager get that kind of armament?
Probably from
Daddy.
home. We don't
Yeah.
know yet.
And now, this, I did once for KFWB run a live coverage as the inside reporter for the big shooting in Connecticut, the Sandy Hook shooting.
Yeah. Just
What I
about 6
remember
years
most
ago.
about that is how much we thought was right on day one, and how much 6 hours later had been not changed the story dramatically, but where was the gun? What kind of gun was it? Who was it that there was? A male? Was it female? Was it early? Was it late? All those facts got twisted around. And one thing became apparent is that the shooter had a relationship with the school. It turned out he did. He had gone to school there.
Yeah.
Now, this is another young shooter. I'm thinking under 20, but a minute ago I was presuming it was a man. So what do I know? But the interesting thing about that, Vinnie, is it brings us back to why the school. This was a school that perhaps she had a relationship with, that she had attended. She had a problem with the school. And if she's killing adults as well as children, maybe she had a problem with the administrators or certain teachers. And I'm only spitballing here. I really don't know. But
Yeah.
it,
I mean, I'll tell you.
but it puts it into focus of why the school over and over again. It's that emotional center of our society that allows people to go back there to get even with something, to take care of something, to put something to bed.
Because you can hurt more people that way. If you, and maybe I'm wrong on this, it's just an opinion. But if you go into a Walmart, you go into a supermarket, you go into a mall, you go shoot a bunch of people there and they're adults. Yeah, it's horrible. It's terrible. It's, for the families and for everybody, it's terrible. But we kind of give it, you pays your money, you takes your chance kind of shift in the news. It's like, okay, these people were here. If there's a gun battle in the street, a couple of people get killed. We watch it. We say, oh, that's a bad thing, but that's it. When somebody kills innocent children, when somebody goes to a school, it has a psychological effect on anybody who is a human being. You don't see presidents cry It's not a job. It's not a thing you want to see as your president cry. But we sure saw President Obama cry after Sandy Hook in public on the podium. And yet, what has been done? What has been done?
We've sold a lot more AR-15s.
Yeah. Why in the world we need an AR-15 in this world? And I know people are going to say, well, they could have gone in there with a knife and done the same thing. Yeah, but with a knife, somebody might have been able to jump on him and stop him. He couldn't have killed those kids that fast.
And when's the last time we had a teenage shooter with 2 or more AR-15s?
Yeah.
In case one jams.
Oddly enough, though, and being the trivia idiot that I am, you'll remember this, I'm sure, Michael, quite well. That I don't know if it's the first school shooting, but the most notorious school shooting back in the day when these things were ghastly.
University of Texas?
No, no, that was no. The schoolyard in San Diego where Brenda Spencer uh, killed a bunch of kids and caused Bob Geldof to write the song "I Don't Like Mondays" because when
Oh,
Brenda Spencer was asked why she killed these kids, she just answered, "I don't like Mondays."
by the way, that's by the Boomtown Rats. You should know that song.
Yeah.
At least we got a song out of it.
So this is nothing new. It's just more frequent. It's just and a female shooter isn't new
No.
because you go back to the origins of this. It it was a female shooter that again in my lifetime. Now I don't know. There may have been others before that I'm not familiar with. I'm sure there were school shootings. I know that in New York City there were shootings around kids who used to make zip guns.
Yes. Homemade guns.
A homemade gun. You take a car antenna and a block of wood and a rubber band and you can make a zip gun. And those were quite popular among the juvenile delinquents.
One of the aspects of this is say, look, you're a teenage murderer on this is your day. You could be like Agatha Christie and poison the students. That's a very female thing to do. All Agatha Christie's terrible female murderers always use poison. And you say, no, I'm really looking for more of a gun display. I want to kill as many people as I can. I want to do it violently. I want to do it loud. I want them to have fear. I want them to run. I want them to know that I'm in charge. I want them to know that I am have power of life and death today over this room, over this school. Poison just doesn't do it for me. Suffocation, no. Buried alive, guillotine. It's got possibilities, but it's so cumbersome. It's a lot of work to get the guillotine to work. I think I'll just go with 2 AR-15s. It's simple, it gets the job done, and who knows how long I'm going to be there. When you think about it, how long am I going to last as the school shooter? And if really what I wanted was my own death, why wouldn't I just take my life and be a miserable teenage suicide instead of a miserable teenage murderer suicided?
I don't know, Michael. We have such a problem in this country. Such I don't know what you know.
Well, Vinnie, how long will it take for the NRA, the conservative, radical, hardcore right, to say what a wonderful day it was today? That the freedom of our Constitution provided this person with a weapon that they could own legally as a result of the laws that we insist on writing and enforcing, and the loopholes that we insist on letting ride, and the terrible death toll, just so we can sustain the rifle industry? Is this that important? Is it that vital to the American economy, that people who make guns need to be to do so with impunity, to make ever increasingly murderous weapons, to make them available at gun stores all across America, to make them. Oh, you're out of ammunition? Why didn't you say we sell ammunition for the gun we sold you? Of course we do. Come on in and get a bucket.
Yeah.
No, that industry is so protected, so necessary to the future of America that we will take all of this and more just so you can go as a citizen, you have the freedom to go buy an AR-15 today. There won't be a one-day pause in sales as a result of the shooting.
We had Michael, and I'm a history guy. I love to think about things that happened in the past and compare them to what's going on today. And really, there's nothing that compares to this. There's
No.
nothing that compares to this tragedy that we are seeing unfold in front of our eyes. Nothing. But 1966, I think it was, 1967, Ralph Nader wrote a book called Unsafe at Any Speed.
Mm-hmm.
And that book chronicled not just the Chevy Corvair and its alleged unsafeness. Turned out that the Corvair was not as unsafe as Nader said it was, but that's neither here nor there. But that book caused Congress to go into session or in their session to introduce a bill that required automakers to put certain safety features in vehicles.
Like seatbelts.
Seatbelts, collapsible steering columns. You know how many people died from massive internal injuries from hitting a steering column? Or
Actually, Vinny, the public was never in any danger. I asked these guys in Detroit about it, and they just deny it. It's a hoax. That's what it
we have
is.
a right to drive a car with a metal horn ring. It could pierce your heart. We
Who
have we have a
knew?
right to do that.
While it
Anyway,
pisses your heart, it's still a very attractive looking 57 Chevy.
after Nader released that book, it caused such a stir in this country that Congress acted on it. Starting in 1968, you had things like side marker lights on cars, seat belts that came with cars, and the idea of selling safety really took hold then, so that the cars you had in 1970 were 10 times safer than the cars that you had in 1960. Now you go forward to 2000, and the cars there are much safer yet because they have things like airbags and things like radar detection. We as a country resolved, enough people called their Congress people and said that we want safer cars, that they sprung into action against the automakers because and at that time the automakers were like one of the biggest lobbies in the country. But Congress sprung into action and said, "Okay, this is a problem. It's killing so many people that on holiday weekends we would have an announcer come on the air. You remember this? I'm sure you may have even said it. It's July 4th weekend, and the traffic fatalities are 684 as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. They used to give the count of traffic fatalities.
That's 655, Bill. We just had one in Schenectady.
But that was the motivation in this country because people were getting killed. People were putting kids in, we romanticize the fact now the kids used to sit next to their daddies in the cars or sit on their knee. And I agree with that. It was a romantic time. But how many of those kids went through windshields?
And you don't have to hit another car to send your kid flying, just hit the
Yeah,
brake when you're backing up. Somebody backs out of a driveway, the kids, projectiles.
yeah. How many kids now you don't think of that? Now it's illegal. Now, if you pull somebody, if a cop sees you with your kid on the seat, on your knee or something like that in the truck, they'll pull you over and write your ticket.
You're out of your
You need
mind.
to pound your truck.
What, are you out of your mind? Have you lost your stamps? What, are you crazy? You can't have a kid in the front seat.
We've
And
survived as a nation. I mean, what if you are a gunner? What do you think is going to happen if you don't have an assault rifle anymore? Do you think that you're less of a man? Do you think that the girls aren't going to like you anymore?
vulnerable in what way? How
I
are
mean,
you vulnerable? It's one of
again,
these, it's an if thing, Vinny. Well, if somebody, if the boogeyman, if the monster from the Black Lagoon, the creature arises and comes for me, you got no problems because I have an AR-15 in my trunk and I got another one at home. Unless
why?
unless my teenage daughter took them to school today.
Yeah, why can't we require, at the very least, until we figure this out, every owner in the United States to put a lock on their guns, so that if somebody takes their gun, and yeah, they're gonna, I already hear it, oh well, I can break the lock off. Yeah, but chances are, when somebody takes that, if there were locks on these guns today, and I don't know that, maybe this girl wouldn't have taken these rifles. Maybe easy access to the rifles where they were was figured in her decision. Why can't we have a code? We have a code on our cars.
What the hell is the age for buying a gun in Tennessee? Is it 18?
I,
Probably.
I don't know. It's probably 18.
Well, I'm just saying, if this girl is appearing, we don't know who she is yet, and we'll find out more. But if she appears to be in her teens, then she appears to be too young to have purchased the weapons legally. Don't know that for certain. And if she got them illegally, or if she got them by happenstance, they're probably family weapons. A teenage girl probably does not legally own two AR-15s and other weaponry.
Probably not.
And don't tell me that there weren't some signs that this girl was in trouble.
Yeah. This is just coming up from CNN. Shooter's connection to the Nashville school is unclear, police say. We do not know who she is. Don Aaron of the Metro Nashville Police Department, who apparently is the spokesman for them, told reporters at a press conference, "We do not know who she is."
Well, there's a bit of mystery here, isn't there? A
Oh yeah, this one's going to get
very dark mystery.
this one's going to get looked at maybe more than others, because you now have this thing that goes against all grain.
Right. Against type.
You have this that goes against everything we know. And while I mean, I'm not going to say a line's been crossed, because the line was crossed already many years ago. But we are going to have to, Mikey, I say it. I
And you
say it.
already know.
We're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do something. When the hell are we going to do something? When is our Congress going to stop listening to the NRA and start listening to the parents of, and how many times have parents been to Congress? And I'm sure the parents of these kids will go to Congress and testify.
Just
If the
last week,
Republic,
parents of the kids who were shot down in the Florida high school were in Washington and got arrested during the committee hearings on Capitol Hill, having to do with school violence and school shootings, and what could be done in terms of laws and background checks and some sort of. You see, Vinny, what we do is you say, okay, here's the deal. You can have the gun. You can have as many AR-15s as you want. You get a couple of them, but they must be locked. And you have to put them in a little box, and you have to promise not to use them or anything like that. Don't leave them out. Clean them and lock them right back up. Don't ever use that gun. It's so important that you have two of them, but it's an attack weapon. It's a weapon of war. So you have to promise that just because we allow you to own one, we certainly don't want you to use it. Now that would be criminal. You know that, right? You're not
I
going to
don't
use
see
this gun, are you?
I don't see any reason in the world why somebody needs an AR-15. Mikey, I got to run for 1 second. So
I'm going to talk about
you,
baseball.
you dance with the you dance, and I'll be right back.
It's been such a weird time as we thought that the big story this week was going to be somebody getting indicted. As it turns out, it looks like no one's going to get indicted today, but that's another story completely. And that story about the weirdness that our nation's going through in terms of the events that are taking place in our heads and in our public square. That it's hard to concentrate on San Francisco Giants on opening day, especially because this opening day is going to be one unlike any that I can remember, in that we're opening on the road against the New York Yankees. So we'll be in the Big Apple. And then we continue with a visitation to the American League with a trip to the Chicago White Sox on the south side of Chicago. So the Giants, representing San Francisco, open in New York on the road, but not the Mets, the Yankees. And then go to the city of big shoulders, this nation's second city, Chicago, Illinois, and play not the Cubs, but the White Sox. Then the Giants come home, and you'd think they'd be sick and tired of the American League, but no, not a bit of it, not at all. No, now we face the Kansas City Royals in San Francisco for our home opener. And that is only to be eclipsed by the fourth team that we face this year, and that is our hated rivals from the days of Brooklyn and New York, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who play in the city where I live. But I do not support them. I support this team, my San Francisco Giants. So that's the way this season is going to open. And I'm not going to predict anything, but it's going to be interesting to watch the Giants in terms of people performing who need to keep a job. Because as I've always said, if you can't hit the ball, I will get someone who will. That's a common phrase that's used around baseball, or it should be. Should be used around the Giants all the time. And the reason I mentioned if you don't hit the ball, I want to get someone who will is because there are job openings in the San Francisco Giants organization. And it's pretty rare for a team that considers itself a top-rung contender to have to replace the first baseman and the third baseman in the same season. If you can, you should avoid that. Well, we didn't avoid it because we kept Brandon Belt around for all the years that he played. Now he plays for, I think, the Toronto Blue Jays. Anyway, he's not out of the league, but he's certainly not our first baseman anymore. And Evan Longoria is gone now as well. So we had to replace first and third base, and that changes the lineup dramatically. Think of your team, whoever you love right now. You're a Mariner fan, you're a Yankee fan, I can't imagine you're a Tampa Bay Rays fan, but they must have them. Stands to reason, right? They've got the team. It's got to be a fan there somewhere. Or perhaps someone who used to live in Tampa Bay, now lives in Schenectady, and still loves the Tampa Bay Rays. But my point is, when's the last time you replaced your third baseman and your first baseman in the same season? It's a shakeup, the likes of which a lot of teams don't look forward to. And the Giants, I'm not going to mention any names or give you any predictions because I don't know who is going to make that cut. Lamont Wade Jr., late night Lamont, could be the man at first base. And I hope that he wins that because when he's in the lineup on a steady basis, he can hit. And the third base, well, I'm putting my money on Chris Schmidt, a kid from nowhere, came up and showed him how to hit. And Vinnie's back now.
Sorry about that, Michael.
I'm opening my my season on the road with a New York team, but not your New York team. We played the Yankees for opening day in New York, followed by the Chicago White Sox in Chicago, followed by the Kansas City Royals for our home opener in San Francisco, and then followed by actually someone from the National League. The Los Angeles Dodgers come to town in San Francisco, and that will be the way the season starts for the complete shakeup of a team that was once known as the San Francisco Giants. They're going to keep the name, but everything else changed.
Well,
Lot of
sometimes
new
you got to
faces.
change your identity, right?
You got to do it.
Sometimes you have to move things around a little bit, and they certainly did in this off season.
I don't.
I'm
I don't
excited.
have a. Go ahead. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
good, no, good.
I don't have a UFO story today. I was going to get one, and I didn't have time because I got watching the TV. But ask yourself what the UFO brothers and sisters think of this planet. Ask yourself what we would think if we were watching a planet where they do the same stupid thing over and over again, like walk off a cliff, or walk into a propeller, or light a cigarette by the gas station pump while you're filling your tank. If they saw that type of activity, they would say these people are fundamentally afflicted with something. We can't put our finger on it, but they don't learn from their mistakes. They keep doing it over and over again, and they can't learn from somebody else's mistake. They watch them do it and they go, where did he go wrong with that cigarette thing by the pump? I just don't see the connection. Why was there a fire? Why is he running down the street with his hair on fire? And with the Lucky Strike, by the way, he was smoking the same cigarettes your dad smoked. With a Lucky Strike means more fine tobacco or something like that. Lucky Strike means
LSMFT, Lucky Strike means fine tobacco.
there you go, and you can think that in your mind, LSMFT, LSMFT, as you're burning, running down the sidewalk.
LSMFT.
So our space brothers say, look, we're advanced technologically to the point where we can travel around the universe and go to different worlds and see different people, and it's fascinating. We love it, and we're helping where we can. We're trying to get people over the hurdle to get them to the level of advancement that we enjoy. But I have to tell you about this place called Earth, where they just won't learn. It's fascinating. They can learn their times tables, but then they can't learn a lesson from it. They can learn history that goes around repeating itself and keeps repeating itself until you stop it, but they don't learn from that history enough to make today different from the terrible mistakes they made in the past. Certain things linger here on Earth and they won't go away. And one of them is what we would call on our planet stupidity. They're just too stupid to get past this. They can't get past this hurdle. They're presented with a solution over and over again. They're presented with the problem in different ways, each time a little bit different, but always the same. And they can't seem to get it. They don't understand the problem is not the story, not the horror that you feel for it, not the dead children, not the victims, not the families. That's not the problem. Now you tell me, what's the problem? They go, constricting gun laws? No, you're wrong. Second Amendment rights?
No, it's mental illness, Michael. Blame it all on mental illness is what the aliens would say. Is they have brains that just don't work as well as ours. They have, our brains work in an advanced way where we have figured out how to get into the brain and fix the people who have that evil gene in their brain.
And they do. We have problems, but we fix them.
We fix them. We don't kill them. We don't put them in jail. We just go into their brain and we fix the evil gene. We fix the thing in their brain that says, I'm mad. I'm mad at the world and I want to go ahead and we don't take no for an answer.
And we always ask them, are you mad at the world you live on? Or are you mad at the world that we live on? Are you mad at that world over there? No, I'm just, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, I'm just mad.
Yeah, the only way we don't touch is if you say you're mad at the moon. Then that's a different story.
It happens. We understand that, but we're going to have to fix this now. We can't let it fester for another day.
Yeah, it's boy. I tell you, I just
What a strange thing to bring down an empire. In Rome, they left the gates open. In Greece, they just got older, and Rome was meaner than they were. In Egypt, they had problems feeding their population. They never were a strong country because they had the wealth influence and they had the history of being there first, but they couldn't maintain themselves against an armed Roman Empire. They needed that help. There's always a flaw in the empire that brings it to its end. And usually it lasts a lot longer than 244 years. But what's the end to our empire? What's the end to our story? Is
I
that
think we're seeing it, Michael.
we shot ourselves in the foot.
No, we shot ourselves in the children. If a society has no respect for its children, what does the society have? Now, listen, I know there are people who will say, well, we're too loose with our children. I mean, every comic has a line about, oh, when I was a kid, my father slapped me, or my father did this, or my father did that.
And I
And there was
and I
no
turned out just I turned out just fine. I'm
yeah,
a
and I turned
comedian.
out just fine. Look at me. I've used that line myself. But you know what? Let me go back and say, and many people will say that the pendulum has swung to kids. That kids are not your friend. Kids are whatever you think along those lines. There's one incontrovertible truth about that, and that is kids must be protected. Kids must be protected. And we have to do whatever we can do. When I was a kid, there used to be things called the Queen's Child Protective Society. And if your parents were beating the crap out of you or something like that, or somebody on the block saw that you weren't, um, maybe you were going to school with ragged pants or all these kinds of things that nowadays I don't know how you would tell all these kids go to school with ripped jeans and everything. But in my day, first of all, you couldn't wear jeans to school. But second of all, if you had a ripped pair of jeans, but they used to have the Child Protective Society, and you would call up
See,
the Child Protective Society, and they'd send some lady out in a kind of like a nurse's uniform or one of those Salvation Army looking uniforms, and they would come to the house and knock on the door and say, "We got a report. Blah blah blah. Can't tell you who sent it, but we want to check your children to see if they're okay." We as a government, as a nation, decided that we needed to protect our children.
and if the family couldn't do it, then the city would step in and help them out, help them to a
Yeah,
degree.
yeah, to a degree, up to and including taking the kid out of the home
Yeah.
or the kids out of the home. If the parents were alcoholics, if they were whatever was going on, and they didn't get every kid.
No, not in New York. Not
Not, I
anywhere.
don't think anywhere. I don't think anywhere they got every kid. But at least the government showed that there was a problem, and it needed and wanted and had to do something about the problem. Child abuse didn't start, 20 years ago. Child
You know,
abuse has been going on for centuries.
it's interesting that we've learned from studying criminals that people who are abused as children become abusers. It's a weird, unfortunate thing, but you can bet that this shooter in Nashville is going to present as a troubled soul, not everybody's idea of a next door darling and a cheerleader. I'm now again I'm guessing, but I'm going to believe that school shooters that return to their schools to do damage have a dark heart about what happened there, and maybe the school isn't all sweetness and light. I don't know why she chose that school, why she
I,
returned to it, and they can't figure that part out because they can't even figure out who she is.
well, it's early yet. I mean, they're going to find out who she is. They'll find out. I mean, it's still, take it. I mean, it's still in there. I'm sure. Um, I don't even want to say it. Jill
Mm.
Biden, the First Lady of the United States of America, just issued a statement. Quote: "We just learned about another shooting in Tennessee. a school shooting, and I'm truly without words. Our children deserve better, and all of us, we stand with Nashville in prayer, the First Lady said. I got to tell you something, lady. The
That
prayer
doesn't
ain't,
cut it.
I pray. I pray that I can play first base for the Mets.
You know, there's a Otis Redding song called I don't know the name of it. Anyway, the famous line from the play from the song is, "Lord, no prayer's going to stop that bear. We got to run for it. Doom, 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 doom. We got to run, baby. Boom, 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 boom." Anyway, the point being, the preacher and the deacon are out walking and they come upon a bear. Now, the preacher and the deacon are both churchmen, but they come to the quick solution that no prayer is going to stop that bear. And that's how we have to look at the gun problem. You can pray all you want, but there is no prayer that's going to make any difference. Not now, not tomorrow, and it sure as hell won't stop the bear that is gun violence in America. In fact, if you're standing there praying, you're a victim. You're a victim just in waiting. It won't be long before they find you.
We're all victims of this, Michael. Any reasonable person is a victim of this shooting today, is a victim of Sandy Hook, is a victim because it takes each one of these shootings bite into a little piece of your soul. They take a little piece of your heart and destroy it. And it takes and any reasonable person, anybody with any sense in them, looks at this and says, "What? What the hell?" And you're hardened by it. You lose a piece of that thing inside of you.
And look how complicated a society this has been. It reminds me of what's going on in LA right now, Vinny, where the LA Unified School District just had a 3-day strike. Now, when LA schools go out on a 3-day strike, that's a big deal. That's a lot of kids. It's a lot of students. It's a lot of teachers. Now they're back in session, having been told that they are already paid too much, that their job is not that essential, that their demands are unreasonable, that the situation is misunderstood by them, that the LA School Unified doesn't have to show its finances. It doesn't have to negotiate. You've had our first, our last, and our best offer. Get back to the classroom. Who needs you anyway? Well, now take a look at the schools today. Do you know where your kid is? Do you know the teachers that are taking care of that child for you today? And what do you think the end result would be if your school was the target of a shooting? Would that teacher and your child be dead? Have you already paid them enough for that job? Have you already told them that they make too much money already for the work they do? Have you told them that your only concern about them is that they burn the right books in the school? That's what you want your child to be learning? You want a Florida style where the books are on fire, to warm the hearts of the evil administrators of the school system.
You know
That's
something?
where your child is today. Your child's in that school being taken care of by the person that you have just told is already making too much money and has none of the response, none of the protection. The child has no protection. The teacher has no protection. Adults were killed today as well in Nashville, as always is the case. The adult coming to the rescue of the child goes down in a hail of fire.
I have a good friend, a really good friend that used to work in the rock and roll business with us, and we have maintained contact. She got out of it a long time ago, and she became a teacher. And this woman has more heart and more soul than almost anybody I've ever met in my life. She really does. She's really an unbelievable woman, and I'm proud to call her my friend. You know, uh, she's never forgotten my birthday. She's never forgotten Christmas. I always have gotten all through these years, and I know her since 83, 84, something like that. When I first got into radio, she was one of the first persons that became friendly with me. And she's a teacher in Denver where last week they had a school shooting. I think it was last week, and then they found the person committed suicide. They had a manhunt for them. It was just one person that got shot. I don't even think they got killed. I think it was just a flesh wound. Um, and she's in school teaching today.
Hmm.
And I've talked to her about this. And I'm going to tell you, Michael, that I would put her up against any teacher in the United States of America. She teaches young kids. I think she's third grade. And she is one of the best teachers I've ever seen. She dresses up as different, she has a background in radio and entertainment and theater and so on and so forth. So she dresses up like different characters to teach her kids. She she cares about her kids. When her kids grow up, they come back to her class and they thank her for keeping them on the right track, for all she has done for them when they couldn't do anything for themselves.
Make learning exciting.
Make it so that it's not a chore to go to school, but I want to go to that teacher's class because I don't know exactly what she's going to be doing today. And it's kind of cool. It's almost like going to a TV or a clown show every day. Maybe that's what we need to do. We need to bring back Bozo the freaking clown. Anyway, and
I'll go along with Buffalo Bill, Buffalo
yeah,
Bob.
I know that I'm going to text her in a little while or talk to her or one thing or the other. And she's going to be a wreck over this. And we've talked about this before. We'll talk about it again. She, instead of staying, I think, at her job, I don't know. She's probably going to get out of there as soon as she's eligible to get out of there. But this is the person you want teaching your children. This is the person you want taking your kid when you drop them off at that school and in that classroom and teaching that kid. This is the person that we didn't have when we were in third grade. We had nuns that hit us with rulers.
I had a good third grade teacher, Mrs. Kirkpatrick. Miss Kirkpatrick, actually. I had a lot of good teachers. I was
I had
lucky.
one of the worst third grade teachers in the world, man. I really, they were all. I mean, and I had a lay teacher in third grade. I was in Catholic school until fourth grade. Um, yeah, who'd I have? I had Sister Marie Louise, Sister Dorothy Louise.
What was it that made nuns so traditionally mean?
No Baba.
Possibly.
I mean, really, when you
Could
think
it be that
about it,
that's the way the Lord wants it? Because we hear a lot about what the Lord wants, and he must be getting what he wants. If this is it, I can't understand why he wants it this way.
well, I guess there were certain people, certain women that went into the convent and went into doing that and really generally wanted to help, really wanted to generally make a difference for people, especially the ones, you know, way back when this country's healthcare system was predominantly taken care of by churches. You had St. Luke's in New York. I think what was it? Beth Israel was it in San Francisco? I mean, there are all these different religious organizations that set up these hospitals that are now run by corporations because we didn't want the churches.
Because there's money in it.
Yeah, because they found out that there's some money in it, and so you normally all the time saw nuns in those hospitals. They were the nurses, they were the caretakers, they were the people that fed the elderly. I remember my grandmother going to a nursing home on in Yorkville, and we'd go visit her, and there were all nuns inside of it,
Hmm.
taking care of the old people. Now you get, you pay them zero money to take care of people, and so they're pissed off that they don't get recognition or they don't get anything
I'm working hard on my
except
coffee this morning.
$11 an hour,
Yeah.
and they work their asses off. So I think part of it was that there was a lot of repression going on. I don't know, Michael. I know that there was some of the nuns. The nun I had in first grade was a beautiful soul. She really influenced me, and really she was like my friend, in the sense that she cared about her kids, and I was a handful when I was a kid. I'll be the first to admit it. And she,
Vinny, you're a handful today.
yeah, but she gave me something. She took the time to find out what I liked, and she turned it into something that I could do. She found a thing in me that was what I enjoyed so much at that time. And she pushed on it, and she pushed it, and she pushed it, and made me do things that made me more interested in what I was doing scholastically. And I know that because in the second, third, and fourth grade, the teachers that were there that were bitter, and they didn't pay any attention to me. As a matter of fact, they chastised me. And when they chastised me, it took that beautiful foundation, that root that I was on, and destroyed it.
Plus, it shows the other kids we can say anything we want to this guy. He's not protected by the teachers.
Yeah, when the teachers call you Frankenstein feet, when the teachers endorse that kind of behavior, this is what you get.
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know. We don't know. All the stuff is coming out, but I don't know what the end is going to be here. I don't know what the vaccination is against this. I don't know what is going to change this. I don't know what the Ralph Nader is going to be.
I don't see nothing presents itself, unfortunately. The problem is so widespread. It's not like saying we're going to come to your house and take away your potato chips, but it might as well be. How do you know you got them all? How do you know they have a couple bags in the back? As soon as we go, they're going to be laughing and eating those potato chips. So we're going to say we're going, then we'll come back and break down the door and go in and take their potato chips. And then we'll go to the house next door. Potato chips, come on.
And why are they going to take the potato chips? Because of course, potato chips, if you eat enough of them, can kill you.
You'll be dead, and if you're dead, you can't use your gun to go to the school to kill the kids. So we're stopping school shootings the best way we know how, which is seizing potato chips nationwide. And imagine how that would go.
You have a war on your hands. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah. No matter what you do, if you come to this nation with a solution to a murderous virus, it's a pandemic around the world, and offer to them for free, 30% of Americans will tell you, go pound sand. They want nothing to do with you. Take your Anthony Fauci and get out of here. There's nothing more stubborn than an American who's come to the conclusion that they've got it all figured out, and that the virus that everybody else is concerned about is a hoax. That the gun that everybody is concerned about is actually not a weapon; it's a protector. That's why I have two AR-15s. I need to be protected from you. What do you think? What do you think I'm going to do? You're going to come and take them. So that's why you have two. In case I get one, you can fire the other one, or you'll have one hidden away in case somebody seizes one AR-15. You'll have a backup AR-15 that they didn't seize. This is going to be, if the nightmare presents us with the problem, then it's going to be another nightmare times 10 to solve it, because Americans don't want the end to come into sight. They like the inevitability of my gun, my way.
Well, when you look at this problem, Michael, I can only think that the end is in sight. That
Mm.
that if we keep doing this, we're going to destroy this society, or at the very least, we're going to get a lot of people who start to say, you know what, it is not worth living in America. It is
Yeah,
it is not worth living here,
yeah.
and they're going to try to go somewhere else where they feel safe because at the bottom of us all, or somewhere inside of us all, is the feeling that we want to is the thing that we want to feel safe.
Well, would you go to Paris or Tel Aviv right now? Would you relocate there?
Well, I don't know. But they're having protests, but I don't see people running around with AR-15s in the street. There might be a few of them.
No, I don't see that either.
I don't see people with AR-15s standing on the steps of the state of the country's capital.
Even in Ukraine, they don't have guns like we do. We're better armed than the Ukrainian army.
Yeah, I said it. I don't know a year and change ago. We should collect all the assault rifles and give them to the people in Ukraine and let them.
They know what to do with them, and they have a problem that can be solved by AR-15s. That's the kind of problem that AR-15s are known to solve. War-like problems. That's what they're created for. To kill 20 guys getting out of a tank. And they would put them to better use than we will because we just get itching like a finger on the trigger of a gun. Who wrote that song? Paul Simon. My Little Town, the song, My Little Town.
Oh,
Itching
yeah.
like a finger on the trigger of a gun. Well, every day in America, we get that itch. Paul Simon wrote that in 1970, 1980.
Yeah, something like the middle
What's
'70s. Yeah,
what's changed other than there's more triggers on more guns?
this is
Itching
the
the finger.
128th mass shooting in the United States this year, according to the Gun Violence Archive. Does this say that we even have to have a gun violence archive?
It's tough to keep track of it, so it's nice that someone is keeping track of it. Now, that shooting that you talked about today in West Seattle, is that on the list, or is that just a? They're going to say that that was just a normal crime where a gun was
Um,
used in the commission.
I don't know. I'm just, you know what, I'm going to go to before
Yeah,
we get out of here.
Seattle Times.
Uh, the West, no, if you're in West Seattle, the thing you want is the West Seattle blog.
I see.
The woman who I used to work with at Channel 13 runs that thing, and it knows more about what's going on in West Seattle than anything else in the world. I mean, she really um, knows. Let me see: community garage sale, traffic, weather, transit.
It'd make the top 10.
No, they crank out a lot of news though, but it's definitely not a.
Well, that's good. I don't want a shooting in West Seattle.
Yeah, yeah, they're dealing with enough in West Seattle right now. Had a horrible accident on the West Seattle bridge. Some wrong way driver
Ooh,
went up the bridge the wrong way, obviously, and hit a head on into a car and killed two 18-year-old kids who were out
alcohol may have been
celebrating.
involved. Wrong way drivers often have
Yeah, this guy
an impairment
was
going on.
doing donuts and stuff in on the streets, and people call the cops. They just couldn't get to him in time. Uh, anyway,
Vinny,
I will.
I know that your discomfort is genuine. If anyone knows that, I do. That this
Yeah,
subject drives you crazy. With me, it just drives me to satire and I don't know what it does. It makes me bitter. And when I get bitter like that, I try to assume the identity of the enemy and show how vulnerable we are to their needs and their beliefs.
that's what I
But
like about you, Mikey.
but 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 believe me, the Covenant School that was supposed to be private and safe and Christian has proven itself to be unsafe, unchristian, and public. All the problems that happened today at that school are going to be reviewed just like they were at Uvalde. All the response times will start being questioned, and the rundown that they do after a crime is committed will become commonplace. Here's what you do after a school shooting. There's no 10 things to do to stop a school shooting, but there is a list of 10 things that police officers and police organizations have to do when they encounter a school shooting. And sooner or later, everybody encounters one. I just hope that the teacher you told today in Woodland Hills, California, that they weren't valuable enough to earn a raise, that they were charged with taking care of your children's education and safety, but not doing it well enough to get a 30% raise, not good enough to entrust them with more money based on their job of taking care and educating your children, protecting them in times of danger, an earthquake, a shooter, a fire. Do you want that teacher to protect your children, or just say 30,000? That's not enough for me to get involved with this.
It's
Nope.
ridiculous, $30,000 for a
I'm
teacher.
not. I'm not. You can make more money in radio, and that's a very sad admission because nobody's making any money in radio. 30,000 right now is what they're paying reporters in major cities. If you want to know why your radio sucks, that's why.
Yeah. All right. I am not going to see you Wednesday because I have to. Well, here's the deal on Wednesday. I have to go for a heart MRI early in the morning. If I get done early enough, I'll scoot back here and we'll do the show. If I don't get done early enough, Thursday is opening day. Maybe we want to do something. We'll talk about it back and forth. Maybe we'll do something Thursday and then Friday. But our next regularly scheduled show will be Friday morning.
Well, you're going to get some good news and come home safely.
I hope so, Michael. I know that there's going to be a piece of my heart missing.
Yeah, they're going to look at your heart and say, "This heart doesn't look complete. What happened?" I'm an
Small.
American. Take a look at your heart.
Yeah, we live in America. Somehow you have to think that if you live somewhere else, we can't be the greatest country in the world if we kill our children.
I keep thinking of the Jerry Ragovich song "Piece of My Heart" that was done by Janis Joplin,
Janis
and
Joplin, yeah.
that's a you can feel the peace coming out of her heart during that song.
Yeah.
I don't know what she would think had she lived to the ripe old age of a 75-year-old Janis Joplin, but she would have sung that song again today with a little more feeling.
I remember seeing her live sing that song at Shea Stadium. And it was one of the most profound experiences of my young life. The way she ripped that song, the way she got into that song, the way
Take
she
another little piece.
emoted those lyrics, the way she touched an audience of thousands in Shea Stadium from a stage set up, I believe, on the infield, if I'm not mistaken.
Second base.
She absolutely, absolutely blew the place away. And I'll never forget it. It was around dusk that night, and that song, that performance of that song will never, ever, ever leave me if I live to be 1,000 years old. Listen to her do that song.
I stood next to her feet at the Avalon Ballroom one night when Big Brother was playing. And the funny thing that I'll never forget about Janis Joplin is those were the days of big amplifiers and big shows, and we were getting to the point where people would have three amplifiers, three Marshall stacks.
Oh, yeah.
Bands were getting loud, but nobody, no guitarist, not Jeff Beck, was as loud as Janis Joplin's voice. She took the paper off the walls with that voice.
If
It
you
was
were lucky,
it was as big as life. It was huge, a
if you
huge,
were lucky enough to
extraordinary.
hear it,
Yeah.
if live and in person, you would never forget it. You would never ever forget it. I mean,
Nobody ever said, "Who's that singing?" I can barely hear it. No, no, no. You knew who it was.
Her voice could give you a hard on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how good it was. Her
And then and
voice,
then a and then a heart attack.
her
Everything,
voice
everything.
would be
Everything the market will bear.
And on that note, Mikey, I
Uh-huh.
will see you
On
definitely
Friday.
Friday morning, but sometime, keep an eye on the page. We'll let you know what we're gonna do as soon as I get it figured out. And you know, if the Lord's willing, the creek don't rise. I like to say pray for the people in Tennessee, but you know what? Don't pray. Pick up your phone and demand that your Congress people do something about it. Demand that your local people do something about it. Demand that the president do something about it. Demand that somebody that has the balls to do something will do something about it. Because we're certainly not gonna. We're just gonna sit here and just meemaw it, just oh my god, it's horrible.
Meemaw. I hadn't heard that in a while.
Yeah, well, meemaw it. I don't even know what meemaw means, but it just sounds like something you'd do.
It sounds like something
Meemaw.
you would do that would be ineffective no matter how you did it.
I'm probably using that word in a horrible context, but now I gotta see. Now I gotta. Sometimes my mouth moves faster than my than my
Then your
brain.
brain calculates. I know, mine are.
What is Constance Tucker, better known as Meemaw, is the mother of Mary Cooper and the maternal grandmother of Sheldon Cooper. Uh,
I don't know the
oh,
Coopers, do I?
Meemaw, speaking with exaggerated mouth movements to allow lip reading. Meemaw
Oh.
or Mawmaw is an affectionate term for a grandmother.
Oh, so this would be a senator saying hearts and prayers and thoughts, prayers
Prayers,
and
prayers and thoughts, as John Kennedy would say. Prayer.
what?
Is there anybody less worthy of a name
Yeah.
than John
How did
Kennedy?
he how did his parents dare give him that name?
Is there just anybody in the freaking world that's less deserving of that name than that puss bag?
Then the guy who's got that name, yeah. Well, there's probably a lot of John Kennedys around, but in fact, we know of one too many already.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll see you on Friday, definitely, maybe Wednesday if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Michael, more
Très
than ever
bien.
today, peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine.
See you, pal. And see you all too. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye bye.